Well, guys, welcome into Simpademic. It's a lovely little Friday night here in Minnesota, and I am filming from my own room tonight. I'm keeping my feet up because my feet have taken a little bit of a beating from my workouts this week. I do have some pretty good painkiller right now in order to be able to help make this tolerable, and I think I'll actually be able to sleep fairly well tonight. So, anyhow, I am just coming at you here real quick. I want to talk very quickly tonight about being content in life and about a couple of specific things that I've mentioned before on this channel that I want to be a little bit more specific about. The Bible talks a lot about the importance of being content, and I think this is a very valuable lesson really for anybody in general, especially when it comes to us guys. And I will say at this point that I do find myself fairly content these days of my life. I do have, some of the generalized anxiety disorder comes to my workplace, but I don't have any anxiety whatsoever as far as the opposite gender is concerned. And I think it's come with a lot of discipline over the years now. I have mentioned this before, and I'm going to expand on this a little bit tonight, probably to my own detriment, but there is a woman who has been appearing in my dreams for the past 5 years. And the reason why I think it's gone on for as long as it has is because at the time that Lauren started emerging in my dreams, it was at a time when I had caught feelings for somebody else in my old gym, and I think I got a little bit emotionally carried away whenever we were in those boot camp classes together, and so I think I just started acting a little weird. Not really, not in a gym creeper type of video, but just kind of being emotionally a little excitable, just in her presence, and didn't really do anything to really talk to her or do anything like that. But I think a lot of people there kind of picked up on it. It's kind of like when you're being a little weird around somebody that you just like. And if you've related to this in the past, let me know in the comments. But it was at this particular time that this dream character started showing up in my dreams on a regular basis. And because I was in a situation where I had been rejected by this woman, I wouldn't say particularly coldly or cruelly, but it was hard. And it was just coming to the thought that, you know what, the only way that this would ever happen for me would be through some sort of miracle such as this. And so I said a prayer that on one night, and I just said, you know what, I'm all in. And so I started thinking about Lauren a lot. But then about 2 years ago, I started getting a little bit more content with where I was with my life. So, but this whole dream series has been kind of built into me because I latched on and held on to those. But now that I feel like I'm reasonably content, I'm trying to kind of push them away, but they still are. I allow them to get built so much that they still happen. And so Dream Lauren did show up about 3 weeks ago, and it was probably the most vivid one yet. But just for some specifics, this is a woman who has also gone through a lot of adversity and trauma in her life, similar to myself. So this is, if I'm looking at what I'm looking out for, I don't pursue, I don't chase, I don't approach, I don't do those things anymore because those have resulted in some very bad things happening in my life. And so I'm doing it, I do it that way just to protect myself. But let's say I do stumble into somebody like that at some point. I think the standards that Dream Lauren has set, I still stand upon. And so she does have to match my level as far as adversity and overcoming large amounts of adversity and trauma against tremendous odds. I mean, she's not going to have the exact same identical story as I do. That's that's practically impossible. But as far as somebody who is on that type of at least level, maybe not exacting things, but my estimate right now is that the number of people who can meet me at that particular level is probably 1% of the American population. There's just not a lot of people running out there who are cult survivors, children of alcoholics, and victims of 2 sets of false accusations, and all of that piled together. There's not many people who have that combination behind them, but she would. And in this particular dream, I find out that she's actually been the victim of a roadside hit and run accident where she was standing on the side of the road and she got hit by a vehicle speeding along at 60 miles an hour and still survives. She shows up in the dream and she's kind of walking with a very modest little limp, but I think it's just nerve damage, and it's not like a bone is still broken in her. She is about 5'3", roughly, give or take a smidge. And her, straight blonde hair, and her complexion is probably her biggest standout as far as physical characteristics is concerned. She's not fat, not skinny. I would describe Lauren as somebody who physically is attractive but healthy. She's not, not obsessively skinny, not fat, but she just hits that sweet spot. And I'm in a position right now where it's like, I'm not counting on this to happen anymore, but she sets my standards. And as I've said in many recent episodes, there's nothing wrong with men having standards. In fact, I highly encourage it. But on the same token, I will add that you need to balance that out with a sense of peace in your own life and a sense of contentment. To be where I'm at, where if this never happens, that's okay. Because I'm 53 years old, I'm not in a position to have any more children. In fact, as I've said before, I wouldn't rule out marrying one, but it would probably be somebody who has a child that's closer to the same age as my own daughter, and she's 20. I don't have the physical energy because of that TBI, which is one of those obstacles I'm talking about. It's probably the biggest one that I've had. The near fatal TBI 4 years ago. I still don't have a full load of energy. I definitely cannot handle multiple children at this point. I don't have that kind of energy. I don't have enough of that to give. So, but if she were to have one child on the older side, closer to my own daughter, and if she's also a woman who has had that type of adversity and is on my level. I learned in a sermon in church about a month ago that people who are complicated get the least grace of anybody on the planet. And of course, we would both be in that club. But at the same time, outside of the sermon, I also have come to understand that we're capable of providing and giving grace more than anybody else on the planet on the flip side. So if you get two people together who are complicated, don't receive a lot of grace, but are capable of giving a lot of grace, just picture it for a second. It would be powerful. And both of us, whether it's Lauren or whether it's somebody else, would be incredibly safe in this relationship or marriage. It would be a beautiful thing. But I don't count on it either because I'm content. So this is all about balancing, having standards with your, keeping your own contentment with where you're presently at. I'm content, but I'm not entirely, I'm not entirely settled on that. Again, I work out at the gym. I'm trying to get some rest here tonight just so I can go tomorrow morning. I'm to our HIP boot camp, 7, 8, and 9, Burn Boot Camp, Blaine, Minnesota. And I'm shifting my small group focus at my church. I've been in men's groups, largely men's studies groups, over the past 3 years or so, and those have been tremendously beneficial. And I've had a lot of personal growth there too. Another area where I try to personally grow and level up. But I do this with a backdrop of being content with where I'm at, and at the same time having this little dream in the back of my head that I probably held on for a little bit too long. I can't really magically turn a switch to make them disappear, but they're beautiful things and I enjoy it. I wake up pretty happy when they happen, and they're a lot of fun. So if I ever meet this magical Lauren, it would be, I would, first of all, I'd be praising God until the cows came home. And of course, the very fact that I have even maintained a Christian faith with all of this happening in churches that has happened to me. And a lot of people who are not Christians always ask me, why are you still doing this? Well, because the church is made up of people, and people are messy. So anyway, I just wanted to drop this out there, throw some personal details out there, see if anybody has any advice for those on top of which I've already received. So anyway, Jason with the Simpademic, urging you men out there to be both content and maybe have a little dream, and don't rule that possibility out. So being content and not ruling that possibility out, I think, is a very healthy place to be. Even if the way in which that started may have not have been the healthiest. But I do think about Dream Lauren, and if she is for real, I actually do say prayers about her on the regular. That if she's real, that she really is from God, that He is protecting her and developing her and making her feel loved in whatever situation she's in. So it's a little bit of a personal side to me. I may have, it might have been a little bit too much for some of you. If that's the case, I apologize. But I think there's a very important underlying point. Contentment plus not giving up and having a dream, I think, is a powerful combination. So you folks, have yourselves a great night. I will see you again tomorrow. Hopefully my legs will be stretched out pretty well, so I will be filming back from my normal spot out in the living room. But anyway, this is Jason and the Simpademic. You folks have a great night. As usual, peace out, homies.